I know I've spoken to a few people as they come in, and some people here are they're quite mature in the cloud. They understand, you know, what applications would be moving. Some people, I guess, are fairly immature in terms of cloud adoption, or they think they are, and we'll come to that later. But would you like to just run us through what's the definition of cloud computing?
Yeah, sure. Well, this is your definition here. I suppose this is the NIST definition, really, the National Institute of Standards and Technology in the United States. They defined cloud very, very early on, and these were the characteristics they gave to a true cloud deployment. So this won't be the case in the vast majority of cloud deployments, but this is the true characteristics, and this is really about the benefits you can gain from the cloud. So to really be true cloud, it should be on-demand self-service, as in at the touch of a button. At the drop of a hat, if your development environment says, okay, we're under pressure, we need a new development environment, we need to spin it up now, it's right there for you. So you can log on to your infrastructure provider, you can click on the VM, spin up a virtual server, and be ready to go instantly. Ubiquitous network access is important as well, because essentially this means you can access it from anywhere. You don't need remote console, you don't need a special RDP or VPN.
Sorry, RDP?
Or sorry, remote desktop client, just an ingress point into the cloud environment. It's readily accessible on any internet portal. So basically, you can access it anywhere, anytime, from anywhere. So it's important for your sales team on the road to be able to kind of spin up, just get immediately onto a wireless connection, and then just connect to the internet, and then all their application server storage is available to them. So then we're talking about location transparent resource pooling, which is a bit of a long-winded one, but this is really about pooling all your resources to get the most out of them. A good example would be a large organisation that have their resources, their infrastructure located in Dublin, in Brussels, in London, and presenting this as one infrastructure to the organisation available for them to use, and this can be anything from your platforms, your applications, and your infrastructure as well. So it's about pooling your resources to get the most out of them, and I suppose economies of scale as well. You're using the most of your infrastructure at all times. So again, follow the sun would be a good example there, whereby if you have a large infrastructure based globally, so if you're a huge multinational and you have infrastructure in India and you have it in the UK or in Dublin, that infrastructure can be rolling constantly. That can be humming along and being utilised constantly, whereas 5 o'clock here, you're shutting it down and it's not being utilised. So it's about getting the most really from all of your resources, because they're pooled as one. The next, rapid elasticity. Now, the easiest example here, and the one we kind of sometimes give to explain the benefits, I suppose I was really shocked, I don't know if anyone else was, to find out that Garth Brooks played more gigs than expected here. So nearly 10% of the population of Ireland had signed up to go to a Garth Brooks concert last year. And if you had been the ticketing company for that, traditionally back in the day, you would have had to scope for that. You would have had to go and buy that infrastructure, put it in your data centre, rack it, and be ready for that demand. And who knew that many people were going to go to that concert? So they would have been ill prepared. So with the cloud, they could have spun up that environment and scaled it back down when poor old Garth cancelled his concert after 2 weeks. So that's really the benefit: scaling up, scaling down, elasticity.
So what was the implication there?
Well, the cost implication was absolutely massive. Well, if they had have underscoped, because they didn't know Garth Brooks, good old Garth, was as popular as he was over here. But not only that, but if they had have gone and bought the infrastructure for what they expected, and then 2 weeks later the concert's cancelled and they're stuck with the infrastructure they put together. That's a very, very high level example of where the elasticity and on demand is of huge benefit. But I think it just displays kind of the not only scoping that I suppose most companies overscope or overestimate the capacity for their infrastructure for that demand, but I don't think anyone would have overscoped that much for a Garth Brooks concert. No. So it's just easy to kind of scale up and scale back down, and finally meter pay per use. So you're only paying for what you use is a huge benefit. So anyone with the finance, anyone responsible for budgets and so on, it's about cost, it's about cash flow really, and organising your company's budget, not on a year to year or on a strategic 5 year, but it's monthly. It can be weekly. You can actually almost determine what you're going to spend on the trend in your cloud environment, really.
Okay.
So you're paying just for what you use, and if you spin up, as I say, development environments, they can be spun back down and shut down, and you're not paying for them constantly. Okay. So it's operational expenditure against capital expenditure is the huge benefit. So these are all huge benefits in the cloud, but they're also double-edged swords because there's risks to each one of them. I mean, if we at the beginning, on-demand self-service, you need to keep control of who in your organization has access to those services. Because it's so easily accessible over the internet, then again, access control, locking down who has it, and the joiners and leavers process has to be really, really clearly defined because they're so easy to access cloud services. If someone has a credit card for your company, they can go on, spin up a marketing application in the cloud. It might be high risk, and that person might leave 2 weeks later with the credentials and then accessed all the information that you're effectively are assets your company owns. They've gone away with the keys to the castle, really. So that's a huge risk. And then resource pooling and rapid elasticity is, again, with the Garth Brooks example, if that person left, if that's not controlled and doesn't scale that operation back down, that can have huge financial implications for that company. So again, there are risks to each one of these that are new, that aren't really existing in traditional environments.